Hello, everybody. Hello, Gravitrons. I'm more gravity. Let's play chess. Okay, that looks good. And we're off and run here. This game, we're going to review this game. Let's do one thing first. This player's been playing a lot of chess, and over the time period, maybe not as many bullet, but blitz games. I wonder if there's many in the last year. 1100, and also 1200 rapid games in the last year. Okay. Alright. I played well. My opponent played well, and I played better. So off to a great start. White is as developed as black, perhaps even more so considering the pawn as development. I don't usually consider the queen as development, but you can. I mean, it's about even, about 50-50 on that. But I have options with my queen to enter the game immediately. For instance, queen a5 check, the exchange of queens, and then knight takes a5 to complete the exchange of queens. That's one way. For me, that lacked sauce, as some would say. I wasn't interested in that enough. It might be fine from a nuts and bolts standpoint. My opponent played pawn to e3, so I just had black moving while it was white's turn, so you'll have to excuse me for that, or whatever. And let me say it was queen b6. No, let's say queen a5 is not a good move, or it's not one of the first four moves that Torch likes, or both. And we push pawn to e5. This is a good tactics position. Black to move, and I wouldn't say quite win, but black to move, find the best move for black might fit. Pawn to e5 is indeed that move, and it works because you don't. This is the type of thing where I'm not calculating these anymore. I just know it offhand that white is in way too much trouble to do anything but lose material after e5. You can calculate these out. You don't have to know this right offhand, but if you calculate this out, Torch and I and the game agree that black is going to go ahead some strong material. Knight takes e5, knight takes e5, queen b3. Okay, stepping out of the discovered attack, but my opponent has lost a piece. So black does well there. I found this in the game. I like to see that as part of the development and maturity of my own game, my own chess game, and play strength, and so on. f6, again, this is the right move. Look at this. This is a good provocative response by my opponent. I like this move. Bishop to g4. It's feisty, the bishop is protected, so there's room for say, haha, he dropped the bishop. Oh no, you didn't. And the knight captures on g5 and has black's queen. So there's room for opponent error. It's called room for opponent error. It requires a specific response, which also requires in me in black to slow down a bit. Slow down. Don't I can't rush into bishop to b4 check. Alright, so I found the right move, f6. Also, from just an objective standpoint, all those psychological factors included, from an objective standpoint, f6 wins the tempo and blocks the attack, but also opens up the light squares around my king. So I really like this move by my opponent, bishop to g5. Bishop comes back, smart. You have to fight him again another day kind of thing. And I made this miss here. I was bummed. I had calculated myself out to, yes, there is a win on the table. There is a win for black on the table right now. And I was going to play knight to d4. I kid you not. And then I said, oh, wait a minute. But with knight to b4, and the queen can't move along the horizontal, and I've got her. I'll bag the queen with this. I didn't check the calculation far enough to say that, okay, yes, I do hamper the queen's mobility extremely on b4. More so than, well, maybe more so than on d4. Who even knows about that? But now the queen can go to b3, where priorly she could not. So we're going to take some time out to allow the version of me who didn't change his mind to play this against computer. Bishop to d4, or knight to d4, right? And the queen is gone. We're ahead 3 points of material, but it's that nice feeling, when the queen is gone, and you can do what you want. I think I am going to exchange pawns here. Look for this as a material exchange. I could. There's a check on e1 that I'm not worried about. And anyway, I'll lose this against something as strong as the computer on maximum. But rook to c8 wasn't all that great. Maybe just exchange right away. I don't know. All right. Develop. Knight to e7. We'll get some material trades with knight to f5. Oh gosh. Alright, well let's look at what would have been the best move. Make that best move. And I'm okay with that. Let's Alright. Then let's go to the last move. So back to the game as it were in reality. I played knight to b4, but the important thing here is that I didn't give up. I may have evened the board with a huge blunder, but I stayed with it and I said, this is still a chess game, Jord. We're still playing chess here. There's a lot of pieces on the board. Alright, there's a lot of pawns on the board. And the kings are, of course, always on the board in the exact number of one per side. So this is not a done deal against black here. Queen to a5. It's a great move. And, it allows black to play very dynamically, giving up the knight on b4, recapturing with check, down 2 points of material as a result. White now has the material lead, and it looks like white might be able to rally the wagons. Basically put pieces near her or they king in a way that keeps the king safe. Alright, so white might get away with rallying the wagons and trying to make even trades and let this 2 points of material grow bigger and grow stronger. Black finds the right move. So this is one of my better games. I'm really glad that I found the move bishop to a4. It's a sharp move, and it achieves a lot of things all at once, most of which is to scatter the white queen. Now this attack on d2, too strong because of the battery on a5 and b4. Too strong, I mean the number 2 strong. Maybe too TOO strong in terms of how white feels about it, but nonetheless, yeah, there's this attack on d2, and isn't there also a queen on d5 hanging? So I think I caught that. Yeah, all right. That's the. Sorry, folks. I don't remember most of my chess games, but yeah, that's part of the reason why I don't remember that this game was in part the result of a dropped queen. I don't mean to be laughing at my opponent, so sorry about that. But yeah, this is my opponent dropped a queen, and the rest of the game is playing while you're ahead a lot of material, making exchanges, forcing exchanges, picking up lone pawns on occasion, giving away 4 points of material to capture 3 points of material. These are themes of how to treat a material advantage once you've won a game by way of material. Move pieces around, get the king somewhere where he's going to be safe on b8. There's always a move like a7, and then he even has options about where to flee if attacked. Alright, so over towards these pawns, the king is very safe. My opponent has to decide what to do about the knight, and soon enough we find a position where I can just trade off a lot of material easily. This seems weird. Why would you play rook e1 check there? Just calculate it and make sure you calculate it right. It is the right move, because with the king on h2, he's even farther from the action after. And I know my opponent doesn't know, but I'm going to sacrifice the queen on d2. When my opponent captures in return with knight takes d2, we're looking at an even more out of the fray or too far away white king than before. It's just a nuance, really. Rook to e1 is this nice nuance that shows you know what you're doing. And I mean, the alternative is queen takes d2, and of course then knight takes d2, rook e1 check, And then the knight can either block, which is silly, or just pretty much hopeless. Not hopeless. Pretty much without much chance to win. King to h2. Still better though than still better though is rook to e1 first. There's the possibility that your opponent will goof, will mess up and play knight takes e1, and then you get the rook. It's a little bit of, it's kind of nuanced. Is there any other part of that? Check. Yeah, so there. Now I'm informed by our computer overlords that for some reason queen to c1 check was better still. Probably for good reason. Let's play that through. Let's see how queen to c1 check. How come, or why is that better than the variations I just gave? Queen to c1 check. The king hides and is a little bit farther away from the action, or is he? Empty square, pawn of same color square. Yeah, we get an extra pawn. This is the way to get an extra pawn out of the deal. Okay. The actual game finished up in similar fashion, still capturing the pawn on f2 and cordoning off the c file from white's king so as to push pawns, push pawns. Here, okay, right. I played a5. Not that it's a big deal, but practically speaking, if you play blitz and you're in a time crunch in a position like that, you don't want to play pawn to a5 there. You want to play rook to f2. Some of this is just, it's not sexy in terms of chess, but it's practical. It will win you games. Rook to f2, pinning the knight. Rook to f2, pinning the knight. The king will move. You'll capture the knight. And this is a position intermediate level players should be able to win mostly on pre-moves. And it doesn't always have to. Sometimes your opponent is a little bit more rascally than that. And you want to shut down one side or the other so that your opponent's pawns can't move, and then deal with yours that remain as warranted. Alright. Cut the opponent king off from having any influence over the B or A files. March this guy all the way. You can imagine you can just make these one long pre-move. Towards the end here, maybe we have to be a little bit careful. And then back to the old back and forth mechanism that queens can push a king to the edge and then finally checkmate on one of the board's edge files or edge rooks. One of the board's edge files or edge ranks. Black's pawns are just way too quick for white, and overcome him. Reside before king to h1, queen to c1, checkmate. Great game. I played very accurately. Not extremely, but very. My opponent played accurately. Nothing for my opponent to hang his or their head about. Strong game, both sides. Spirited play. The queen dropped, so that was the major event of the middle game. And, it was a game of chess. It was a great game of chess. Fun to play. Fun to review. Okay. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Gravitrons. I'm more gravity. Have a great night.